Okay, let's see if this is working now. Okay, looks like I actually got it to go live. There is a little go live button I missed in the studio preview. So going to get everything ready to go, and well, I guess I'll introduce myself. I'm Bjorn Atlason. I'm streaming from the beautiful barony of Aquaterra in beautiful sunny Ontier, which I'm actually not using in an ironic sense because it's a nice sunny day. I primarily work in Adobe Illustrator. I went to college in the early 2000s for video production, and that also involved production and layout. So even though I never finished school because they reset my credits 3 times, I consider myself partially actually educated in this. More recently, I've finished school up in Aquaterra for engineering sciences with or engineering. It's an engineering degree in material sciences, which also included basically drafting for 3D printing. So I have spent the better part of the last almost 20 years working in digital software, primarily Adobe, but also SolidWorks. Uh, I know that Coron Rouge Herald, currently Vermond. Uh, I have trouble with names at times. Let's see. Vemund Severson has actually taught classes on how to do digital heraldry in Inkscape, which is a free vector-based program, unlike Adobe Illustrator. It's a program I have actually had a little bit of trouble acclimating to, so I just keep falling back on what I know. And what I've been working on for the last few months is doing a whole bunch of making a lot of our emblazons digitally as vector files. So far, I've done all 20 kingdoms, the registered heraldry for their consorts, the registered heraldry for their populous badges, as well as every branch and on tier, including some of our branches that have gone defunct over the years, the branch arms and populous badges. And what I've been working currently on is redrawing the arms of every single peer in our kingdom for making flashcards for those who are undergoing sergeantry trials. The 3 devices I'm planning on drawing up today are the last of the arms of those who are viscounts, or sorry, I haven't got to viscounts, counts and countesses. Uh, I've also done everyone who's been a king or queen of Ontier already, as well as every duke, regardless if they were king or queen of Ontier or king or queen outside of Ontier. So all the dukes and duchesses are done, and I've moved on to the counts and countesses. After this comes the viscounts. I'll probably actually skip the chivalry till after I do the Masters of Defense, even though it's a newer order. There's far fewer devices to do, so I can knock that out a lot quicker. Unfortunately, I've got it now set up so I can't just drop something onto my left monitor and it will show up on screen, but I've actually currently sitting for the project of getting all of our peers done. I'm about 18% done with 111 out of 621 coats of arms drawn. I've also used these to create coloring books, which you can find on my website. I'll drop that link in the chat, but it's bjornatlason.com. Very simple. And I guess I'm going to just begin. So the first thing I'm going to do, I've already got the 3 devices that I downloaded from our roll of arms already opened up. I'm going to start by having an opened up escutcheon. This is actually drawn, traced off of the on-tier submission form, so it's as close to the exact size for submission as I can get. And I'm just going to, I believe I was planning on doing Tamsin of the North Seas first, so I'm just going to copy this, give myself a reference image, and move it slightly off to the side and lock that layer. That way I don't screw it up. And I'm going to move that layer to the bottom. And next thing I'm going to do is just go to Save As real quick and copy the file name. This lets me do a really quick save, so all my file names match the file names that came off the roll of arms. Save this as, put this into redraws, and making sure I save it there prevents me from hitting Control S and accidentally overwriting my base shield shape, which I have done way too many times. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to tackle the chief and what's on the chief, because it's going to be the easiest. For the chief, I'm going to just drop a guide down somewhere between halfway and 3/4 of the way between the top of the shield and the fess line, because the chief is somewhere between the top 1/3 to 1/4 to 1/3 of the shield. Any heralds in here are going to basically either agree with that or say it's 1/3 or 1/4, but I will, depending on the charge on the main charge, I'll actually adjust the chief to fit that so I can make the primary charge as big as possible. And now that the chief's there, I'm going to bring up a square tool, just draw a square, and I just noticed I don't have a stroke on this. And then just adjust the square size to match everything on here. And if I don't like the chief, I might just make it a little bigger. That looks okay. I can clear the guide. Color the chief azure. And from here, if I want to adjust the chief, I can just grab here and just adjust it as I see fit. Now I'm going to take care of the interlaced frets. And I'm actually going to not fully trace, but partially trace this with a couple shapes. Bring up my square tool. And for this, I'm going to make it transparent, or just remove the field or the fill. And I'm going to roughly estimate the size of the fret and the interlacing, and then I'm going to hold down shift, so it's actually going to lock it. If I don't hold down shift, I can rotate it slowly. If I do hold down shift, it will lock it to 90, 45, 0, -90, -45, etc. Move it to 45, hit V to bring up my select tool, and I estimated that width pretty spot on. And I'm just going to bring it down to there. And if you hold down Alt while you click and drag, you'll actually make a copy. So, and I'll hold down shift and just rotate it the other way. And you're going to notice that as I do this, it's not going to be 100% accurate. Uh, I'm not sure why at sometimes, but I can always adjust as I'm working. I'm just doing this real quick to get the first lines in. Oh, I see why. This extends and flattens off and doesn't come to a point. Let's see. Hopefully you're not hearing the little blings my computer's doing because I've turned off desktop sounds, but because I'm using Alt a lot, it will bring up wanting to open up the file, and when I hold down space, it doesn't like that and gives me an error bling. Okay, I think I'm going to now work on getting everything to line up before I start cutting and putting this together. That looks good. That looks good. And you'll notice that with how some of this has been done, there is a little off. I'm probably not going to fully match this interlacing just so everything maintains the same height. And so I'm going to do a quick cut. C will bring up the cut tool. I'm going to cut these along their points on the path. For this one, I'm going to cut where you see the path actually say intersect. And on that point, and I'll just delete what I don't need. Select that, bring back up C. Where it says path, we'll cut there, and on that point, delete that. And now just to make sure my cut points actually touch, I'm just going to do that until I get them to actually anchor to each other. I'm now using A, which is the direct select tool versus the selection tool. It allows me to select points instead of the entire object. I've selected both those points, and I'm going to hit Control J, and that just merged those 2 points. If I didn't anchor them to each other before I merged them, I'd be able to select this and move one of the points and the other would stay, instead of them becoming one merged point. And down here, I'm just going to select those 2 points and hit Control J, and there's the first part of that. For over here, I'm going to select this point. I'm going to hold down Shift to constrain it along its line, and I'm actually going to drag that point up to about right there. I'm going to do the same with this. And where these two intersect is where I'm going to make my cut. I think I will extend the top just to try and make it look like the original. So let me drop a guide. Put my guide right there, and I'm going to lock the guide so I don't accidentally move it. I can delete that. I can delete that. So I haven't anchored these two together yet, so I'm going to do a quick join on them. And if I don't anchor them, sometimes there, that's what can happen. Undo that real quick. And that's just one extra point I don't need. It's just me making it as clean as I can. Going to now join those, and that problem's no longer to be an issue. Okay, I'm going to select this, hold down shift to constrain it, and bring it up till it intersects with the guide. Do the same on this side. And I didn't get that as good as I'd want, but very close. I'll just bring that down, and there we go. Over on this side, I'm just going to grab these 2 points and just, again, just bring them right up to the guide to try and match the height. It's just a little extra cleanup I'm doing. I'll do it on this side real quick. Okay. So when I'm deleting these sections I'm cutting free, I'm actually hitting delete twice. The first delete will actually delete the line between the start and end points, but it will leave some points there. This makes sure everything I want is gone is gone. And just anchor that to that. And anchor that to that. Okay, there's the first one. I'm now going to select the entire layer, bring up my actual select tool, and to make things easy, I'm going to hold shift down and just hit the down arrow once. That's going to actually make a copy of the layer, but shift it down one stroke. And then I'll just hit the up arrow again, match it back up. And now that that's in place, I'm just going to grab that, hold down shift, and rotate it around. Let's see if I can mirror it. That might make it go a little bit easier. Object reflect, horizontal axis. Yeah, that's a lot better. And I got that guide in a good point because it mirrored pretty much where I wanted it. Okay, next thing I'm going to do is take care of these overlay cuts, and I'm actually going to do the fill on this real quick. Make that argent. So how that overlay, I'm not worried about. Don't lock it, because the upstroke is actually over the top of the down. So on that one and that one, I'm going to need to do some modifications. And for those modifications, I'm just going to, again, work with the cut tool. It says intersect, 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 and intersect. And that and that are going to get deleted. Bring up my direct select tool. Select those two anchors, Control J. And that looks a lot like how it would handle the interlacing. Sorry about that, I missed hitting the mute button. And just repeat that process on here. Okay, the main part of the fret is now taken care of. Now I'm going to do the little lot, the little other part of the fret, the maskell or whatever it's actually called. Bring up the box tool. Again, if you hold down Shift, you can constrain it to actual, basically keeping it square versus not holding down Shift. Holding down Alt will grow it in both directions equal amounts. Holding down Shift and Alt will do that while constraining it. Okay. And I'm just eyeballing the actual size. It looks like my eyeballing's pretty on, isn't too off of what the actual size is. There we go. Let's make a copy of that. And just, I'm going to turn off the first layer just so I can get this up to the same size. Match that to that. Just a tad smaller. There we go. Now, if this was just overlaying it and I needed it to be hollowed out, I would just select both of these, go up to Object, Compound Path, Make. But compound paths sometimes don't like it when you do a whole bunch of cuts through them. So I'm not going to compound path it. I'm going to lock the first two interlaces real quick. Actually, let's lock that, and lock that. Let's make that a group, or not a group, but Okay, let's just lock all those. I don't want to accidentally cut the wrong thing. I can't lock them because it won't show me when I intersect this path. Ignore that. I'm also, so I guess I'm just gonna risk it. Just unlock those. And I'm gonna shift it down just a tad. That looks a lot more balanced to the path. And I do understand I need to not worry as much about modern symmetry with heraldry. I'm just trying to get it to a point where my eyes are happy. Okay, that will match where I want it. Don't drop that in. So I'm going to select this, bring up my cut tool, and I need to make sure I'm cutting it where I need to. I need to cut it down here, not on that side. Again, where it says intersect and intersect, I can delete that. Okay, direct select tool, points I want to join. Okay, just going to select those two and make them a group. Now that I've got that done, I'm going to select all these and make that a group. Okay, try that again. Select that. Make that a group. There we go. I accidentally hit Control H and lost having the line show up. Okay, I can unlock that. Okay, select this group fully and just copy it over. Getting this to snap into place is a little bit tricky. There we go. It's about as close as I'm going to get that. And by the looks of it, not everything was the same size. Okay, I'm just going to get rid of that guide real quick. Figure out what I can select on here. Okay, I can get rid of that guide now. And once this is up to a better size, I will probably do a little bit more shifting on those frets. But for the most part, they're not too bad. Okay, next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to tackle the ermine spots for the field. I'm probably not going to have stuff being cut off by the chief, even though it's easy enough to do with layers. I've never liked that look. So, and an ermine field is an ermine field is an ermine field. So, I'm going to open up Duke Thorns because I know that one has, I believe, a counter ermine field on it. And an ermine field. And just grab one of the ermine spots and drop it here. I am going to move the chief and that I'm going to group them. And move them above the ermine spot. Now that I've got an ermine spot in place, I'm going to start tackling the grenade. One of the things I do use is I use digital libraries that have been put out by Viking Answer Lady, as well as heraldicart.org, as well as at times I will grab an image off of Mistholm and the pictorial dictionary of heraldic art that Master Bruce maintains. So I do use a lot of resources. Sometimes I'll just grab an SVJ from one of those and just go with it. Sometimes I'll actually take the time to trace out a heraldic charge. In the case of some of the ones on heraldicart.org or the PicDic, to make a nice vectored version with clean lines versus using the trace function, which sometimes does not have as good of results that I would like. And I'm probably only going to grab the inflamed part from a grenade on Viking Answer Ladies, and I'll just draw out the rest of the grenade because it's not too hard to do. I could take the time and actually trace each one of the licks of flames here. Let's see, file open. Or I'll just do this. I'll open it through file manager just because it's not going to show up on stream, so I don't have to worry about people seeing the file structure on my computer. Let's see. Is it grenade or hand grenade? Grenade. Actually, I think I'm just going to grab the whole file. Just to save time. Okay, and let's get this centered on the field. There we go. I can get rid of that guide. I'm going to scale this up just a tad. I think the size of the ermine spot is just fine. Just drag that. Actually, let's give myself a reference point. Let's lock that so it doesn't affect my reference. It still is. Okay. And I'm just going to eyeball where I think spots should go. For a semi, I really just need I believe 7 or more, so okay, let's unlock the grenade, move it underneath chief group. Just, let's see, select the entire group. There we go. That's still an ermine field. Have the hand grenade, the fret. I'm going to consider that good enough. Save that. I can now dump the reference image. I could have dumped the alignment layer right after I put the chief in place. Let's lock that, and lock that. Select all the ermine spots and put them into their own group. Okay. I can close this off. I'm going to be doing that one last. Okay. Let's save as, get the name file, or the file name. Okay, we're going to open a new copy of ARMS. That's honestly, I don't think I've seen a cross flurry done that way before. Flurry. I think we know what it is. Hearts are easy enough to do. Okay, lock my reference image, save it as, make sure it goes into the right directory, Rhiannon of the Lost Star, and I'm going to do the border first. For this, I'm going to select the field, and I'm going to hold down Alt and use the arrow keys to make myself 2 copies. The top one is going to get resized. With the select tool, I can just grab that upper corner, and when it switches to the arrow, hold down Shift and Alt to maintain proportions. And with how it scales, it has to be shifted back up just a little bit. But I think that looks good for a border. It's not too thick, it's not too thin. And to show how this is going to work, I'm going to actually color the background field azure. And then these two copies are going to be made or. And I think I'm going to go not 255, but drop the blue value to 200 to give me a little bit more of a golden look. And I'm just going to select those two, and like I showed off earlier, object, compound path, make, and instant border. And the best part is you can just object select what you actually want, object compound path release, and you can just take the border off to, if say you weren't happy with the scale. So it's really easy to undo the border you make for adjustments and redo it again. Okay, real quick, I'm going to actually mark off the ones I've done in my little spreadsheet. Okay, the cross floor is tripartite, so I think that's the little inner details. So I will actually trace that instead of just grabbing a cross flory from art assets. So zoom in real quick. Gonna get rid of the fill, and even though it doesn't really have much of a black outline on here, when I do tracing, I usually set my stroke line to what I call oh my god green, which is not anywhere close to any of the heraldic greens we use. I just set it to the standard 255, and that gives me a nice contrast against anything that I'm currently drawing. And so for this, what I'm going to do is I'm probably going to trace only one part of this from here up around that and back down to that corner. And what that's going to let me do is have half of each of these things, and then I'll use guides, like I'll put a guide along that line, a guide along that line, and it's and so on and such, and actually properly space it out. So let me start actually dropping guides. Okay, I'm going to put a guide. Let me zoom in to actually try and get it roughly in the center of where a stroke's going to be. That looks just about where I want it, as does that. This is a lot harder to see up here, but I'm going to put it this guideline about right there, and this one about right here. I'm going to come up here and put guides roughly where I want to put points, just to make stuff a lot easier and quicker on me. So about right there. I'm gonna put it right there. This guide is gonna come in here, and it looks like it's becoming a mess of guides. Oh, nice. I want this one right there. But once I have them in place, it's going to let me drop points roughly exactly where I want them to be. So I can actually trace this out quite fast and as accurate as I can. 2, 2, just put that right there. And those guides are just to do that one little section. I'm going to lock the guides, bring up my pen tool. I'm in Oh My God Green. Going to make sure I don't have hard edges on my stroke or a hard cap. Working with Bezier curves, if I leave the corners as a miter or a bevel, well, the bevel will do a nice 45-degree bevel. The miter, if I get the angles wrong, can really, really send a sharp, basically corner, like that far out off where I want it. So I use a nice rounded corner. It softens it a little bit. Okay. I'm also going to hit caps lock to change from that to crosshairs. The crosshairs are in X. Once I actually start drawing with points, they will change from X to a plus. And I'm going to use where it says intersect. Boom. And you can see the nice little beveled at the end. And I will actually adjust the Bezier curves after I've actually got it roughed in. Sometimes when I'm drawing, I'll actually make the Bezier curves as I'm going. Oh, I forgot to put a guide right there. That was on me. And I'll just drop that to there. So that's roughed in. I'm going to hit Shift C to bring up, what is this tool actually called? Convert anchor point. And I'm going to select that anchor point and start actually taking care of making the Bezier curves. And I will actually play around with curves as I'm going. If I click on the anchor point again, it will delete the curves. Then I can hit undo or Control Z and it will let me easily select that. Again, Shift will keep everything constrained. I want to put this curve in before I refine that. And put in this curve. There's roughly the fleur-de-lis. I think I'm going to drop this point down a little. Now that I've got the curves in, I can use the direct select tool to grab handles and just start trying to get everything where I want it. Round that top off a little bit. I did not get that point where I wanted it, but I can easily move it. Okay, I'm happy with how that looks. Why did that do that? Okay, it's just the guides are affecting it. Okay, okay, hit V, make sure I've got that selected, and I'm going to do that. I'm going to rotate it 90 degrees, and then I'm going to reflect it. Like that. I'm now just going to, I'm actually not going to move the thing. There, make sure everything is on guides. And now I'm just going to anchor that, and join. So that's one continuous path. And now for here, I am going to just select those points and drag them back until about right there. Okay, there's the first part done. I'm going to get rid of all the excess guides. Actually, I'm going to do it in a better manner. I want to keep that. Okay. Let's select that guide. And now we're going to start measuring. One, two, three. 3 works for me. One, two, three. Okay. We're going to reflect this. Yeah. On the vertical axis, and now just line that up with the guide. What that does is now gives me a point where I can reference off of. And now I'm going to tackle this upper part right here. Once I have that in place, I can actually start doing a lot more just copying and mirroring. So I'm going to just and that's in line with the lower part of here. Going to hit L and bring up my box. I wanted M. Make sure I'll adjust the stroke after it's drawn. Interact. Oh, it doesn't have a stroke for some stupid reason. So I'll just make the stroke have a rounded joint. Select these two. and drag them up. I'm going to estimate about right there. I'm going to hit P so I can, so I'm going to hit plus so I can add a, oh, plus isn't the right one. Yeah, it is. I'm going to add an anchor point here. Doesn't matter where. And now I'm going to drag it center. There we go. It locked center. Now I'm going to drag this anchor point up till I'm going to estimate about right there. Hit Shift C again. And just round it over. And I'll round each side a little bit and drop a guide to adjust the sides better. Let's put the guide right there. Okay, I'm gonna redo the top one now that I've got the sides where I want it. There we go. I'm happy with that. Bring up my direct select tool, or my select tool, and I'm going to give these a fill. I'm going to leave Oh My God Green in play for right now. Okay. I'm going to use the same measurement of 3. 1, 2, 3. Just to try and keep everything roughly equal. And I'm just going to select this, copy it over here, rotate it. I need these lines in place still. Okay, get that on that line, intersect it, intersect that. Let's just drag that down to there. Bring up my select tool, find this guide real quick and lock it. Bring up that, select those 3 points, and drag it to there. And now that I've got that in place, I'm going to just do that. Object transform and reflect. Okay, vertical is where I want it. I'm going to drop 2 more guides. Put that one there, put that there, and again that gives me my 3 space. And now I'm just going to select these, shift and click, and object transform. And now just drag it till it matches those. Okay, I think that is good on the cross. Okay, let's see. I'm just gonna clear guides to get rid of everything real quick. Group that up. I can now make the stroke sable. And I'll resize it. Now for heart, I'm just going to grab from Viking Answer Lady because it's quick and easy. I just can't remember which of the heart is which. Okay, I don't want that one. Okay. Close the extra window that I don't need. Let's set the stroke weight to 1. And let's start resizing it. Hit I to do a color select, and that will now match everything else. Okay. Okay. So each arrow stroke is shifting it one stroke to any direction you hit the arrow of. If you hold down shift, it actually shifts it 10 strokes. So that's 10 arrow clicks, 1 arrow click. Again, it's just helping me to actually reproduce stuff and match what I do on one side to another. I think that looks about right. So I'm going to get rid of the alignment layer, save it, get rid of I should have got rid of both those before saving it. That is saved. Go in and mark off Rhiannon of the Lost Stars in my little spreadsheet to draw. Okay, that's taken care of. Showing 113 of 621 done, and 29 out of 30 counts and countesses. Last one to do is Strider of Daruman, the Persistent, which is the one is a little bit more complex. Don't save that. And close this. I'm going to be looking through what I can for Unicorn because I really don't feel like tracing that much, especially with a Sable charge where that's a lot of Argent outline to deal with. So I'm going to open my base file. Now that the base file is open, let's start with getting things set up. Okay, that is now saved. Hmm. Okay. I need a chief. I'm just going to grab the one I just drew for Rhiannon of the North Star, or the Lost Star. So, okay, open recent files. Actually, make sure I'm selected on the right layer. Oh, it wasn't Rhiannon, it was Tamsin's. My bad. No, that is not aligned to the top. There we go. Fix that little oopsie. Drop that there. Let's expand that field for right now. Since this does have a chief on it, I'm going to do the quick adjustment. Let's make the chief Sable real quick. I'm going to unlock my alignment layer. Select those, and I actually don't need to worry about that one since the Benlets are going this way. Oh, I need to adjust the chief a little bit. There we go. That is not quite where I want it yet. Just drag it till it. There we go. So I was about ready to say, because this has a chief on it, everything on the field is actually squished down. So where a bendlet starts, or a bend sinister starts, is no longer up in the corner, but in this corner at the edge of the chief. So I just actually readjusted my alignment. I can actually get rid of the other alignment paths and move this one up front. Okay. I'm just giving myself a longer path to work with for making the bendlets. Okay, now that I've got that longer path, select that, and now I'm going to get it into the proper corner. I mean, it doesn't need to be perfect, but I get into a perfectionist mode. And the worst part is I can't be as zoomed in as I want, so I'm having to eyeball this. Let's give myself something to actually eyeball off of. That's about as good as I'm going to get it, truth be told. Okay, V. And now I'm going to better center it. Okay. And I'm actually just eyeballing where these are going to go. Roughly equal distance from this point. That looks about right. Now let's get it actually lined up. Okay. For these two, I can cut it right along this path. I will be actually deleting that path in a moment. This path can go away now. Okay, that's good enough. To actually match that curve, I'm just going to copy the lower layer. So I have a copy of the field. I'm going to get rid of the stroke, and I'm going to lock the field and the chief because I really don't want to accidentally screw those up. Okay, I'm going to cut where it says interact. Where it says interact over here. And where it's, oh, I missed cutting that. Oops. And neighbor kids are outside playing right now, so we'll probably be hearing that too. Make sure the right things are getting cut. Okay, I can actually delete that much right there. That leaves that. Let's select this. Interact. Interact. Delete that. Okay, I'm going to turn that layer off so I can better see what I'm doing. And because I need to bring these to anchor, I'm going to use that as my anchor point. So I'm going to move this to there. And I'm not going to change the stroke quite yet. I'm going to show what happens if you have the miter corners at weird angles. Okay, that anchored there. Before I do any joining, I want to anchor everything. I can just cut a lot of this away. Make that easier to get it up into place. Okay, join. That one's not too bad. Join. That one you can see it comes out a little at an angle. I think up here is where, right there is where we're going to get the worst. No. Those would still blend in into the shield shape. So I'm not going to bother with that. Again, I'm going to just cut these short just to make it a little, whoa, make that a little easier. Okay, can turn the shield shape back on. Select those and give them their sable. There's that in place. Okay, I'm going to do the label that goes across the top first. Let's actually move the path up top, or the chief up top. Get rid of the guides, because when I deleted the guides it left a couple, the start and beginning points, and so there's excess stuff that doesn't need to be there. Okay. So for the label, I'm going to cheat. I'm going to trace this one, but not fully trace it. So bring up my rectangle tool. Gonna and then I'm gonna put a guide right there. Bring up the rectangle tool again. And select the guide. Now let's try that. Okay, I'm going to get rid of the guide. Okay, and now I'm going to make a copy and hold down shift and count how many times I shifted over. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. -2. Make a copy. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. -2. Now that I've got that in place, and everything is centered on there, so once I get that taken care of, okay, I'm now going to put down some guides. Oh, I'm going to make this just a little bit taller to account for that little bit of space. Now I'm going to put down guides. Lock the guide to that path and that path. Lock it to there. And I'm going to repeat locking the paths over here. Actually, I don't even need to do that. I can do this a lot easier if I'm still going to use the cut tool, but I'm going to cut on that anchor point and that anchor point and get rid of that line. I'm going to cut that and that, get rid of that line. Cut that and that, get rid of that line. Cut that, oh, Control Z, and that, and get rid of that line. Now I'm going to play connect the dots. Control J. Control J. Let's try that again. Okay. Connect that line. that line and connect those lines. That went a lot faster by doing it that way. Let's give myself a guide to resize up to. I need to unlock the chief for that. I'll fix the black line on that in a moment. Okay, get rid of that guide and that guide. Select that. Get rid of that guide. Fix. So the default black is actually not true black, as you can see by zooming in there. So I'm just going to go in here. That's where the default puts you. And I'm just going to fully black it out. Here we go. The label's in place. Okay, now the unicorn. Okay, let's go to... that's not really salient. A winged unicorn salient. That's even more pain in the butt. But I might, looking at the SVG, I might be able to adjust some leg postures. Save this as. Let's drop it. You're not able to see what I'm doing, but I'm currently grabbing a winged unicorn off of heraldicart.org. Okay. I believe it's going to Sergeantry, redraws, appears. No. This needs to go into Heraldry Art. Yeah, currently I actually have two different thumb drives for heraldry plugged into my computer. I have my personal one, which has everything I've done on my own, and then when I took the office of Gorgeous Herald in Aquaterra, I bought a thumb drive, so everything I do as Gorgeous Herald, I've done redraws of all of the baronial awards. Uh, I drew up all of the coats of arms of all of our past barons and baronesses, stuff like that, as well as a digital art library, uh, are also saved onto there. So same with all my redraws of all the Kingdom of Ontir and Known World stuff, as a nice gift to pass on to the next Gorgeous Herald, so they have basically an archive of stuff that's been done and everything but the heraldic libraries, because it's not my I am not going to be uploading like the Viking Answer Lady SVJ library to Gorgeous Herald's web storage, but like officer reports, stuff I've drawn for the barony will also be backed up onto Gorgeous Herald's web storage. But the thumb drive gives basically everything I do as Gorgeous Herald a centralized place to save it that is then passed off to whoever assumes the position after my time is done. Okay. Okay. Let's just grab this, move it over. I can close that down. Close that. I can close this. I can actually close. Okay. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to reorient. Maybe I should have grabbed. This one has a lot more nice detail. I'm going to reorient it so it better matches. There was another one with more open wings. Let me check the blazon on here. Winged or okay, it is actually marked armed, ungueled. Okay. This is an older blazon. Oh, that's a broken chain. I'm glad I checked the blazon because I would not have seen that. But the collar with the label is trailing a broken chain. So that is something to take into consideration. Okay. Oh. Looks like I can't easily. Looks like I'm going to be tracing this one. Because this arm connects all the way through that. So I can't easily reposition it. That's a pain. Because unfortunately, turning rampant sideways is not salient. I have to move legs. So, tracing time. Oh. So, this also gives an idea of why I do not like using the auto trace feature. If I move this, so if I had rotated the arm, all the shading on that back layer would have stayed, and there is no stroke on this. So this is actually going to extend the length of the stream. I don't like the position of that tail. I'm going to find a couple more pieces of art, and as I work, I'm probably going to Frankenstein pieces. Actually, let me look at something real quick. Yeah, I think that might be the better option. Okay, now that I've seen that, just get rid of that. This will be a little bit easier to manipulate. Let's first set the stroke down to 1 so it's not as obnoxiously thick. Okay. Okay, that group is selected. I can now rotate that leg slightly and move it back. I'm gonna select the head area. How much of that? Okay. I think that is the horn. I will probably shorten that. Okay, I think that looks good enough. A select that group. V. And I'll just rotate that bit of the mane a little bit. Move that. Yeah, I'm going to shorten the horn. So I'm going to turn off the head. Boom, boom. Think getting rid of that much horn. Oh, let's turn that layer off as well. Okay. Turn on some layers and move that horn back. Okay, I'm happier with that shorter horn. I think the front legs are good. The back legs, I'm going to mess with this one just a tad more. Okay. Now let's start messing around. Okay, let's make the stroke argent. Make the fill sable. The horn is ore, so I can mess with that. I can reverse those. Okay, find the horn layer. Reverse those. Make the fill ore. Oh, there's a color error. Okay. Object. Always never know. Okay, color settings, no. Edit colors. Convert to RGB. I don't know why it always needs that when I drag it over, but it does. Now let's make the unicorn ore. Oh, I think what I did was take a look. Yeah, I forgot to zero out the blue. So that was on me. Okay. Let's see. Need a collar and a broken chain. The chain will be easy. The collar will be easy. Since, let's see. The collar is just a label, so I'll just grab a label from Viking Answer Lady. Oh. Label 3 points works. No, I don't like the look of that one. Don't like the look of that one. I'm going to check the... let's go home. I'll just modify... I'll modify a different... I'll modify this coronet, since that should be easy enough. Coronet dovetailed. So you can see the basic shape on that matches close to the shape on that. So what I'm going to do is delete, no, hey, delete that layer. I think I just want to get this shape on its own. Just close that out. Going to just cut that and cut that there. Delete that excess line. Gonna make a cut right there. And cut right there. Get rid of that excess line. Give myself a guide. Drag it by that point till it hits this guide. And then I'll just adjust it. Nope, nope. I want to grab it by the path, the point. I can get rid of the guide. Anchor that. Join. Join those two. And a quick and easy label. Drop the stroke down to 1. Oh, not up to 2. I want it down to 1. Move that over the neck. I'm going to now start actually fitting it better. Okay, and now to make the broken chain that trails off that. I'm going to bring up the ellipse tool. No. Rounded. There we go. That's what I wanted. Actually, I've got a broken chain. Close that. Come on. Go. Let's ungroup this for right now. Shift Control G. Bring up my select tool. and make one copy of this. That will let me just add a little bit more chain. There we go. Control G. It's marked that chain to ore. Let's match this to the ore I'm using. Let's drop this onto a layer underneath the collar. And let's just trail it that way and just nudge it into a good place. Now we'll just select all of that, make that all one group. So now I can select everything at once, move that, position a little bit. Gonna have to rescale because the wings. I could find better wings. Yeah, let's find some better wings. Okay, go back into here. Turn off the chain and collar. Let's clip these wings off. Oh, why is that still connected? Okay, looks like I got all the excess wings off. Let's take a look at the wings I have to work with quickly and easily. Don't like those. What else have I drawn recently? Okay, view extra large images. Really? Okay. No, I had already done hers. Okay, looking for stuff with wings. those are going to be too. Might be able to adapt those ones. I think that might work. I'll have to see how the wings are traced on that. Torque hills. Okay. I'll have to do some minor rounding, but I think I can make that work. Let's find the layer that wing is on. Just drag that entire wing over. Yeah, I'll just. Okay. And just odd. Okay. Invert that color. Control C. Let's see. Let's take care of that set first and make that argent. Those disappear for a few seconds. Invert that color. Now we'll just connect that up to the line right there. Move this group onto there, underneath chain and collar. Now select that group and move into place. Now I can scale it a little bit better. bit that way, just a tad more, and I can scale up that way. And there we go. I'm going to scale the chain slightly smaller. Okay, I'm going to close that. I've already gotten rid of the alignment layer. I can get rid of my reference layer. Close torque hills. Unlock that. Control and we'll Control S to save it. 2 hours, and I've only done 3, but I'm going to probably call it here. Um, for anyone who's actually still around, thanks for joining me, and I'll